and welcome. This is News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Annetta Felix. Nigeria Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai is charging troops not to relent in the battle against terrorist sect Boko Haram. Buratai, in a goodwill message on Friday, also warned troops against absconding from the theatre of operation, reminding them that doing so will lead to a court-martial and severe punishment. The army chief also noted that he is concerned by recent attacks by Boko Haram militants, but also dismissed the threats of a resurgence. Buratai insists the army is just inches away from victory against the terrorists and is asking troops not to relent in the battle and give the insurgency the upper hand. His message comes just days after the army repelled a terrorist attack at a military location in Yobe State. The terrorists have tried similar attacks in Borno State, but the army has managed to repel most of them. President Muhammadu Buhari has left for Paris, the capital of France, to attend the first edition of the Paris Peace Forum. The forum, slated for November 11th to 13th, 2018, is organized by the French government and a number of non-governmental organizations. Buhari will join the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and other world leaders in discussing contributions towards global peace through collective action. While in Paris, President Buhari will also join other world leaders to commemorate the centenary anniversary of the armistice signed on November 11th, 1918, between the Allied forces and Germany in the forest of Compiègne in France to end the First World War. President Buhari will also attend a luncheon hosted by President Emmanuel Macron of France in honor of visiting heads of delegations. Before returning to Abuja, the president and his delegation will have an interactive session with the Nigerian community in France. Well, before departing for Paris, President Buhari met with members of the African Parliamentary Union in Abuja. At the meeting attended by Nigerian lawmakers, including Senate leader Bukola Saraki, Buhari highlighted the security challenges in West Africa and efforts to combat it, especially in Nigeria. Onyi Adekunle has the rest of the details.
It is the 73rd session of the Executive Committee and the 41st Conference of Speakers of the African Parliamentary Union. This year's session, holding in Abuja, focuses on fostering relations between African countries. It is also on that subject that the President of the Nigerian Senate, Bukola Saraki, begins his address to the Parliament.
See you all here today, eminent parliamentarians from all over Africa. I'm even more convinced of the need for fora such as the African Parliamentary Union Conference. Without doubt, we as legislators need to do a lot more to share ideas and work together to devise new and effective strategies for addressing the many challenges confronting our continent.
Nigeria President Muhammadu Buhari also addresses the session. He highlights the security challenges facing the West African region and what has been done to combat those challenges, especially in Nigeria.
Here in Nigeria, we have done a lot to reverse the terror trend and hold the advancement of Boko Haram. We have, in collaboration with our neighbors, strengthened our armed forces to effectively confront terror groups and have also initiated programs to address widespread poverty, which has been identified as a significant factor fueling unrest and boosting terror recruitment. In spite of this progress, we are not unmindful of the remaining challenges of armed invaders who ransack villages and small farming communities and commit terrible acts, including the cold-blooded murder of women and children. We are also making progress in addressing this challenge.
The 41st Conference of the African Parliamentary Union will end on November 9, 2018. Onyi Adekunle, TV360, Nigeria.
The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has again received another batch of 121 stranded Nigerians from Libya, assisted by the International Organization for Migration. The returnees arrived in Nigeria at midnight on Friday at the cargo wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja. This recent batch consists of 29 female adults, 5 female children, and 4 female infants. There are also 75 male adults, 2 male children, and 5 male infants. NEMA says this current batch were brought back from 3 main cities of notorious Sabha, Bram al-Shati, and Dubai. Meanwhile, a report by the House of Representatives Committee has recommended the dismissal and prosecution of Director General of NEMA, Mustafa Mehaja, over alleged fraud. The lawmakers have also indicted the governing board of the National Emergency Management Agency, chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, over the illegal approval of 5.8 billion naira Northeast Intervention Fund. The ad hoc committee was set up to investigate the NEMA DG over alleged corruption at the agency. The committee in its report accused Mehaja of corruption and embezzlement of 33 billion naira emergency intervention fund meant for the agency. All in politics, Speaker of the Ondo State House of Assembly, Bamidele Oloyelogun, and his deputy, Iroju Ogundeji, have been impeached. Both leaders were impeached on Friday on allegations of gross misconduct. Well, this is the second time Ogundeji will be impeached this year. It was impeached earlier this year, but was reinstated. The lawmakers elected Olamide George of APC Akure North constituency as the new speaker, while Abimbola Fajolu of APC Ile Oluju Okegbo constituency emerged as the deputy speaker. The changes were effected in a Browdy plenary session where Jumoke Akindele of APC Okitipupa constituency 2 was picked as the acting speaker prior to the emergence of the new leadership. All Awori leaders in Lagos State are complaining about the alleged marginalization of the sub-ethnic group. President of the Awori Welfare Association of Nigeria, Solomon Ojo Olowu, complained that the Awori were not considered for senatorial, House of Representatives and House of Assembly slots, despite giving the same privilege to some Southeasterners. They want Governor Akinwumi Ambode and the ruling All Progressives Congress stalwart Ashibaju Bola Tinubu to correct the alleged anomalies. They also regretted the position of Deputy Governor, which was usually considered to Awori, had become a tall order.
Has a lot, an immense concern over the situation of marginalization. And I think we, the Awori people in Lagos State, we are very much supportive of the present political, governing political party in Lagos State. We have been short-sighted for not making use of our people who has been working assiduously for the progress of Lagos State to serve. We cannot sit back to watch the situation to continue like that. We are appealing to the people at the helms of affairs in politics to critically look into our concern. Let us be given opportunity to serve the only geographical part of Nigeria which we belong, Lagos State, to be seen and be heard.
Nigeria's Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, has admitted that government is worried about the state of Nigeria's water sector. A UN report earlier in the year had indicated that over 60 million Nigerians lack access to potable water. The report also showed 120 million people do not have decent toilet facilities and 47 million more engage in open defecation. Adamu says the government has an action plan to revitalize water supply, sanitation and hygiene in the country.
62 million Nigerians were yet to meet the MDG water supply indicators. This is the water supply situation. But if we go by the Sustainable Development Target, which is that we must have improved access to water supply located on premises available when needed, and free from fecal and chemical contamination, we'll see that 185 million Nigerians are off that target now, at present.
Well, after the minister's speech, President Muhammadu Buhari declared a state of emergency on the water sector. He also asked state governments to ensure the provision of potable water supply, adequate sanitation and hygiene are primarily the responsibilities of state and local governments.
I call on all state governments to complement this effort by according the sector similar recognition to enable us to work together to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals targets for water supply, sanitation, and hygiene by 2030. Henceforth, federal government support to state governments will be based on their commitment to implement the national water supply, sanitation, and action plan in their respective states and to end open defecation by 2025. On this note, I wish to express my profound gratitude to all our development partners and countries that have been supporting our water sector and to call for their continual support that will enable us to achieve our national aspirations. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor and privilege to launch the National Action Plan for revitalization of water supply, sanitation sector of our country. It is also my singular honor to formally declare a state of emergency on Nigeria's water supply, sanitation and hygiene sector.
The chairman of the National Population Commission, Eze Durihoma, has admitted the commission is worried by the rising population in Nigeria. The chairman is now advocating a census to ascertain Nigeria's real population and how to properly implement government's plans.
Under normal circumstances, census ought to hold every 10 years. So in other words, after the last census of 2006, there ought to have been another one in 2016. And if there had been one in 2016, we would be talking about projected growth. So the point I'm making here is there is need, there is a kind of urgency for us to hold a census so that we'll put paid this issue of how many Nigerians are there. Now, but having said that, that is not to say that our population is not growing. Our population is growing. Our population is growing, and you feel it all over the place. You see it, even where you live. You see it all over. So that population growth is something I think economic planners are worried about, and of course, rightly so. Because if you don't take care of it, it will take care of you. Let me borrow the expression of Mr. President some time ago, about corruption. If Nigeria doesn't fight corruption, or if Nigeria doesn't kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria. If we don't fight population overgrowth or population explosion, if we don't fight it, it will come back to haunt us.
We'll take a break now. Do stay with us.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
You're welcome back, and for business news, we have Fidelia Aguncha. Hello, Fidelia.
Hi, Annetta.
So it seems we haven't heard or seen the last of the clamoring for or against restructuring in Nigeria. And what's making headlines regarding that today?
Yeah, well, the Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Muda Yusuf, has backed calls for the restructuring of Nigeria's federal system. Muda's restructuring argument is based on decentralizing the amount of funds that comes into the federation account. He is advocating a system where states are allowed to keep most of the funds generated by them to reduce dependency on the federal government.
If this was a truly federal state, some of the revenues that are going to the center should actually stay in the state. So that is where the problem is. If you set up as a state, if you encourage a company to come to your state to set up, the company tax that company pays doesn't come to the state, it goes to the federal government. It goes not to the federal government, it goes to the federation account. The VAT that is paid goes to the center. The education tax that is paid goes to the center. If it is a mining entity, the royalty and the rest that is paid goes to the center. So if you have this kind of structure, of course you have deprived the states of even areas in which they will have also generated their own revenue. So we have to be holistic in this matter. While we agree that the states may not be accountable enough, we should also insist that as part of the totality of restructuring the system, there are elements of revenue that should remain with the states. The states cannot be working so hard to create an enabling environment for businesses, to bring investors, to bring manufacturers, to bring mining industries, and almost 80% of the revenue that comes from these enterprises go to the central pool. So where is the incentive for even the states to drive for more revenue? And whereas you have many states who don't worry about attracting investment, all of them will share from this pool. So there is something that is not equitable about the way we are running the system. The states may have their own fault, but their situation has been further compounded by the structure of the federation. It's more of a unitary structure. Most of the resources that normally should reside in the states are going to the central pool, which is not good. So we need to address the issue of the capacity of the states from the angle of the restructuring and removing some of these issues on the exclusive list so that the states can be more encouraged to drive more to attract investment.
The federal government will support farmers across 21 states in a pilot program designed to enhance food production and value-added agricultural produce. Director of Extension Services in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Karima Babangida, said this at the first annual Smallholders Farmers Produce Forum in Abuja. The event, which was organized by Synergios Nigeria, is working on state partnership for agriculture in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and other stakeholders in the sector. The forum is to adopt the Farmers Produce Organization model as a means of building collaboration and partnership to drive the change in agricultural value chain.
In the next couple of weeks, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture is going to launch what we call the LIFE program. Are you aware of that program? Yes. Are you? Yes. It's called Livelihood Improvement Family Enterprise. And Kaduna and Benue states are some of the 12 states that are already on board. We now have 24 states and the FCT. So out of those 24 states, the minister is launching 3 states. The LIFE program is supporting women cooperatives and youth cooperatives in this state with value-adding cottage-sized equipment. So in rice, in maize, in cashew, I think we are also going to support you with some cashew processing equipment in Kogi and I think Osun State. Then of course sesame also we have some value-adding equipment.
We have the federal government here. We have the also other state governments who are looking at what we are doing, and we have potential to speak to other people. But we are actually saying that it is in what these farmers have done, the leadership they've given over the past 3 years, that we have managed to get to this position. Think about it. Half of the people in the room are women producers. The person who spoke is a tomato producer that has produced manufactured tomatoes as a result of the intervention. So it is with this kind of thing that we have a greater opportunity to shift how government reacts. Changing the facts on the ground, changing the policy on the ground, and engaging them more productively.
When you encourage the farmers, they produce more. And most importantly, again, to get the right quality. The issue of grading and standardization has been addressed in several fora. We are talking about it. We are also working with SON to see how we can grade these commodities that are being produced and trade them adequately on the exchange and provide efficiency in the market. As a commodity exchange, where buyers and sellers meet to transact, it is a standardized market. Producers get the quality of what they want on the exchange, and the farmers, knowing the quality of what the producers want, they go back to the farm and produce to get premium prices for their commodities.
The government has a very big plan about mechanization. Very soon, most of these farmers, we have associations that rent out machines to farmers and everything for improving their productions. So the emphasis now is not the whole farming. The emphasis now is on mechanization, even from production to processing. And you now have what you even call, that we're beginning to have what you call even artificial intelligence in agriculture, which involves, using more technology in improving production. There's a lot of effort going on. There's a whole advisor on that, and very soon some of the machines will be out, not only for production, even for processing.
Nigerian engineers have been charged to maintain their professionalism at all times. Jimmy Otunu, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Works in Lagos State, gave the charge at the investiture of Fumi Akingbagbonhun as the new chairman of the Ikeja branch of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. He says the role of an engineer is a crucial one which cannot be understated.
Engineers must be able to identify and evaluate possible alternatives for decision makers in society, considering that many people may be ultimately affected by those decisions. Professional engineering regulators define the technical knowledge required for acceptance into the profession through academic experience and related requirements. The body of knowledge is specific and generally inadequately understood by other professions, occupations, and society. Thus, professions must be able to work without supervision and be technically autonomous. Engineers must accept responsibility and accountability for their work. This necessitates a high degree of trust in professionals that engineers will govern themselves with the public interest as paramount.
I'm an agent of change, and we want change in Nigeria. We want Nigeria to develop. Therefore, we want to bring in things that will create solutions to most of the challenges that we have in the country. We don't just want to be engineers alone, but because engineering is the bedrock that any nation that wants to develop should have. I'm one of the people that are in that line, that when you study engineering, you are a problem solver. You look at your immediate environment and begin to solve problems there, and it's some of the things that I want to bring at bay to the Nigerian Society of Engineers as the 13th chairman of the branch. If you see today, we are celebrating innovation, we are celebrating inventors, we are celebrating people that have invented one thing or the other and have contributed greatly to development of technology and engineering in Nigeria, and those are the things that we want to do.
Well, let's now look at activities on the stock market. Stay with us. Well, Well, just as it began, the NSE closed trading for the week in the negative territory, slipping by 0.09%, with the industrial goods sector largely responsible for this drop. But despite the bears dominating trading this week, the market capitalization inched up by over 27 billion naira when compared to last week's close. The all-share index is not left out, as it also appreciated by 76 basis points for the week. Meanwhile, the NSE has lifted the suspension placed on FTN Cocoa Processor Limited after it submitted its outstanding audited and interim financial statement to the exchange. The company is one of 6 others suspended for failing to comply with the NSE filing rules on October 8. Now back to trading activities for the day. The financial service industry was denied total dominance on the top traders chart, with Interlink Technologies PLC snatching the 3rd position, but it wasn't a glorious one, as the share price declined by 0.28%, with over 15 million shares traded for the day. And that is this is Interlink right here at the top traders chart. Well, moving on, but it wasn't enough for it actually to make the top gainers chart right here, because Interlink was the only gainer on the top traders chart, but the gain it recorded wasn't enough for it to make the top gainers chart, as we can see right here, which is led by Seplat from the oil and gas sector. Now, Seplat is appreciating by more than 30 naira, even though just slightly over 164,000 of its shares were traded today. And despite closing with a 0.11% rise, equities from the consumer goods sector is dominating this chart of losers right here. And we can see PZ and Cadbury from the consumer goods sector taking the lead with 10% decline, and Cadbury coming in 3rd with 5.56% fall. And globally, it was the same fate for the Nikkei, Dow Jones and FTSE, as they all gave up yesterday's gains to close in the red. Well, that's been a look at activities on the stock market, and it's back to Annetta.
Thank you so much, Fidelia. And it's really interesting, looking closely and following how the markets have been in the past few days, especially how much oil has actually affected global markets internationally. I'm talking about oil production. I mean, Dow Jones, for example, went to a record low of about 250 points lower, and as well as the Nikkei in Japan, and of course, FTSE in London. But anyway, thank you so much for that update, Fidelia.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're going to break now and bring you news on the international scene. Do stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello? Yeah, I found your wallet in front of a supermarket. Meet me at Apple Junction. Yes, I'll be waiting for you.
Now we find out. 2 of us.
Thank you very much, officer. It's surprising that men like you still exist in the police force.
Yes, so.
Oh, yes.
This is just a token of my appreciation.
Oh, no, you don't need to do this. We are only doing our job.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Now I know police is really my friend.
Yes.
Friend. Hey. Which came up with this one? I don't understand.
You know your problem. You are greedy. I'm a policeman who is doing his job. All forms of corruption in the force, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
A man who set a car on fire and stabbed 3 people, 1 fatally, in the Australian city of Melbourne has died in hospital after being shot by police. Authorities now say they are treating the attack as terror-related. The attacker, aged 31, was shot after confronting officers in a busy city street, authorities said. He was taken into custody in a critical condition, and 2 other survivors are in hospital. Neither are in serious condition, and the suspect has not been named. Police in Ethiopia say they have discovered a mass grave with 200 bodies near the border between the Somali and Oromia regions of the country. Hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced over the past year by violence there. Local media reported that the grave was found during a probe into alleged atrocities committed by the former president of Ethiopia's Somalia region. Abdi Mohammed is awaiting trial over allegations he fueled ethnic clashes in a notorious regional security force known as the Liyu Police. Is accused of carrying out killings in the area between Somali and Oromia regions, and it reported directly to the regional president. The police are trying to identify the 200 bodies found. In sports, the Confederation of African Football has approved the Aperk Aku Stadium, Makurdi, for the home matches of Lubi Stars in the 2019 CAF Champions League. The approval follows an inspection of the facilities by CAF Regional Coordinator and Inspector Salisu Abubakar. He expressed satisfaction with the facilities of the venue, but noted that there were still technical areas that needed to be put in order before the first game on November 27. The club's vice chairman, Mike Idoko, says the club is working hard to represent Nigeria well in the competition. He said the team were already in camp in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. Manager Jose Mourinho says Manchester United will lose matches if his team do not grow up and start matches well. United rallied from 1-0 down to beat Juventus 2-1 in the Champions League, the fourth time they have come from behind to avoid defeat this season. Mourinho's seventh-place side faced Premier League leaders Manchester City at Etihad Stadium on Sunday. And that's the size of our bulletin on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms at TV360 Nigeria. And visit our website at www.tv360nigeria.com. I am Anetta Felix. Bye for now.